Going on. All right, it's 9 o'clock on this Thursday night.
Yes,
this
sir.
is the Live Zone Primetime.
Looking
That's
good.
Tony
Looking
P.
good. I'm
This is
liking
producer
this
Chris.
outfit tonight,
This
man.
is a Canadian tuxedo.
You know,
in
I'll
case
tell you, it
didn't
feels.
know.
What's that show on Paramount with Billy Bob Thornton? Landman.
Landman.
I'm getting a Landman meets Johnny Cash modern
I'm
vibe
not
here.
mad about that comparison because
Just feeling it, you know?
As you may or may not know, the Americana, the Western wear
Yeah.
is kind of, to me, a classic, and it's what I like, and it's what
Right.
I've really leaned into over the last year and a half.
Oh, no
I would
way. So
say.
just recent
From
stuff.
the boots to the belt buckle.
I mean, now we just need to add a nice little biker outfit, keep the leather jacket going. They have a similar tone, and we're good to go, my friend. But how you doing? What's been going on?
Not
with
too
us
bad. How about
Thursday?
yourself? The one thing
Nothing
I will
too
say
much.
about my outfit compared to
Yes.
your outfit, and remember if you were watching last night, Tony
Yes.
P's tan
Very
suit
vibrant outfit.
got a lot of attention.
Little bit
But
obtuse for the time.
one thing, if you were on Tony P's Instagram stories at all today, you know he is dressed impractically for the weather, and the weather
No,
is
the
where
streets
we
are impractically
starting.
done for normal people.
That is a fair argument, and
Thank
that is
you.
the conversation that we are having tonight, because once again, that bitter cold blast is our top story tonight, because if you've been outside, you know it is not pretty out there. The DMV still feeling downright Arctic, as a matter of fact. as a
Polar and
result,
Arctic.
some schools in the area are going to stay closed on Friday. Montgomery County schools announced today that tomorrow will be another snow day.
Wow.
And they warned that Monday, we are looking
No,
ahead more than a
no.
week since the snowstorm and the ice storm. They could be
Not to
on
laugh,
a
but
delay,
my God.
a 2-hour late opening. They will update parents over the weekend, but they warned it is a possibility. However, students in DC were back in class today
They were.
on a 2-hour delay, though some parents Fox 5 spoke to said they were not happy with that call, saying the road and sidewalk conditions were still subpar. We're going to have more on the ongoing snow cleanup and the bitter cold forecast coming up at the top of the hour right here on Fox Local. Tony P, you flat out said that it's kind of an embarrassment, the current conditions
At this
across the nation's capital right now. Look, there has been a huge effort to make DC safe, make DC beautiful again.
Right.
That has not applied to the massive snow piles.
Absolutely not.
That are basically blocking intersections, and walking across the street in Tony's leather-soled Oxford shoes.
These are not leather
becomes-
soled, by the way. I wish
Becomes,
they were.
are they rubber-soled?
I think so, yeah, or something
I
like
don't
that. Like
know.
a composite. Maybe a composite.
Maybe a composite, but
I
it
don't
gets
check that
slippery,
stuff.
it gets dangerous out there, Tony P.
It does. I have to tell you, I mean, I've never, it's literally like kind of following the leader. Like you have to follow the imprints to make sure you can actually make it.
But the
up-
more packed down
up
that
the
snow
hill.
gets, the slipperier it gets
Right,
too.
but at least, I mean, literally, when you go to a crosswalk, there's no opening. It's like Mount Everest over there. It's like Mount DC showing up, and you got to climb over even in Bethesda. We saw walking outside the studio here. You have to find the imprints and kind of dip your feet into them and keep going. Like you're climbing up a mini mountain, man. This is good for incline exercise. You go to the gym at all, folks, you don't need any incline treadmill this week because you're doing it now with this snowstorm. What's interesting to me, being from the Boston area, let me put that hat on for a second, my friend, where you have a lot of independent plows. So my stepdad's a plower.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the truck, and he gets contracted by many businesses. Some of the cities have independent contractors. That's a difference that I've seen that we don't have in the DMV area. You do not have a lot of independent contractors that are plows, that are on standby, or have a small retainer, things of that nature, or a yearly contract. That is a thing that I believe, and also if we're able to ever get some officials on the show, I'd love to interview them and ask them this. Is there a plan to hire more contractors in the future? Because that could be the way to fix this in the near term, not just for next year, but for storms that are going to happen in this winter.
Yeah.
Because you cannot have a storm like
we
this and
did
have 5
hear
days out.
From some officials yesterday, I believe it was in Prince George's County, and they talked about possibly doing that. It may have been here in
Good.
DC, don't quote me on it, possibly doing that, especially to get to some of those smaller streets that their heavy trucks could not access and get cleared. So, of course, we will stay on top of this story in the meantime. However, we do want to get to our other big story tonight, and that is the 1-year anniversary. Today marks 1 year since the deadly mid-air crash over the Potomac. 67 people died when an American Airlines plane and military helicopter, an Army Black Hawk, collided near Reagan National Airport. You were taking a look at some of that wreckage, the recovery from about 1 year ago. And while there have been some changes to airspace above DC in that year since, some local leaders say more improvements are needed. Tom Fitzgerald has all the details.
Good evening. In these 12 months since the disaster here at Reagan National, FAA says they have taken action, putting rules into effect on things like helicopter traffic in the area, air traffic controller staffing, and also control procedures as well, and the flight volume of the flights coming in here to Reagan National Airport. But those changes are only a part of what happens here, and leaders in Virginia are telling Fox 5 tonight that much more needs to be done. FAA has reduced arrivals here at Reagan Airport from 36 down to 30 of the number of flights that are inbound here. They have also restricted helicopter traffic within this airspace around the airport. They've also required that those helicopters broadcast their locations. Now, as to the air traffic controller situation, they have surged into the staffing on that. There are 22 staffers on duty now at DCA, and there are 8 more in training. Just recently, before Congress, the new administrator of the FAA told Congress how there was an infrastructure program going on to replace outdated equipment. Meanwhile, airport officials today said they are stressing, a year later, safety is their main priority.
We also reviewed hotspots nationwide where we saw mixed traffic environments create elevated risk, identified those concerns, and took corrective action.
The Airports Authority's top priority is always the safety of our passengers, which begins with everyone who works at the airport.
Both Virginia senators are telling Fox 5 they are increasingly frustrated that what's known as the Rotorcraft Operations Transparency Oversight Reform Act still has not been passed by the House of Representatives. Now, that legislation would require aircraft be equipped with technology that broadcasts its location to other aircraft within the vicinity. Virginia Senator Tim Kaine tells Fox 5 tonight that bill needs to pass.
I will say, Tom, I haven't heard from the House what their concern is. You know, sometimes we let the perfect be the enemy of the good. This would do a lot of good. Sometimes people feel like, well, if I can add 4 or 5 other things to it.
And remember, there was another ongoing flight here. As recently as 2023, members of Congress from outside our area tried to force more flights onto the flight schedule here at Reagan National. Local officials opposed that move, saying it could endanger safety. They say even more now, a year away from this disaster, that fight continues.
So that was Tom Fitzgerald reporting for us. For more on that NTSB report, those recommendations, and the safety changes made since, aviation expert Richard Levy joins us now live on the Live Zone Primetime. Richard, welcome back. Happy New Year. Thanks so much for spending some time with us tonight.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Tony P.
Hey, Richard.
Richard, is DC's airspace safer 1 year later?
I believe it is. I believe it's as safe as any airspace around the United States. They have super controllers. They have great procedures. I think there could have been adjustments made that would have prevented the mid-air collision 1 year ago tonight, about at this time, actually, 1 year ago, Chris.
When we look at this tragic incident, and of course the follow-up investigation by the NTSB, there was recent findings that were released earlier this week. What are some of the major findings that you looked at that are really crucial to understanding the nature of the crash and how we can actually have reforms that move forward structurally?
Well, 3 or 4 things come to mind, Tony P. and Chris. One, the Black Hawk helicopter was built in the 70s. They had altimeters, which of course displays the height of the aircraft, and the outdated altimeters did not have what we have now, air data computers, where the altimeter's accuracy is improved. Well, why is that so important 1 year ago tonight? Well, because they should have only been 200 feet altitude, and they're most likely higher than that. Number one. Number two, there was a difference in the readings of the two altimeters between the instructor pilot and the pilot in command, who was getting a check ride and wearing night goggles. So that's a problem, number one. The radio altimeter is absolute and shows accuracy there. Number two, as you know, the controller pointed out to Pat 25, the Nighthawk helicopter, there is an aircraft out there, the PSA, or they call it the American Airlines, it's the PSA regional. Do you see that? And they said yes. I personally have doubts they saw the aircraft. There are tons of lights in the background, very difficult to see. Number one, they're at low altitude. So I'm concerned about the reality of that, saying they want to maintain visual separation. Did they see the right airplane? Three, did the controller tell the PSA regional jet that there's an Army helicopter flying down the Potomac River? That was not addressed. And number four, what's made big news a year ago and still is, that one controller was working the local airline traffic, takeoff and landings at National. Same controller was working the helicopter traffic. They had enough people on duty that night where they could have separated that. That's not unusual when it's at 2 in the morning. Speaking of 2 in the morning, that'd be a great time for the Army to traffic to fly down the Potomac River with night goggles, not at 9 p.m. with heavy traffic at Reagan.
Interesting. There's so many items that came out of that. Thank you for breaking that down, because those are the insights that are going to help legislators and consumers understand what comes next.
Richard, at the hearing on Tuesday, we heard from the chairwoman of the NTSB basically in very passionately explaining that the NTSB has made these sort of safety recommendations. They have made safety recommendations for 50 years, and those safety recommendations have saved lives. However, she highlighted the fact that the FAA and some other organizations haven't always taken those recommendations to heart. They have not always implemented them. Do we anticipate them taking the recommendations this time and implementing them?
I do. And sorry to say, gentlemen, I'll tell you what's going to push it more than anything, in my opinion, is, as an aviation expert, litigation. And this will be settled in mediation, will not go to trial, as a lot of the cases I deal with go to trial. This will be in mediation because there's fault with the actions of the FAA that night, where they could have also, something that's not mentioned, the controller could have asked Pat 25, the Army helicopter, to hover. Everybody knows helicopters hover. That is so simple. And some Army helicopter pilots and medevac. Medevac, if you know what that means, that's civilian helicopters that fly medical patients that are maybe dying, need to get to the emergency room, etc. They simply hold helicopters away from the approach path to runway 33 and let the airplane land. Can't get easier than that, guys. So my point to you is the recommendation of NTSB will take effect. The FAA will take the effect because I believe litigation is going to push it to occur.
Money talks.
Yeah, exactly. And when looking at, I think a lot of concerns from people across this issue, and people just fly generally, is that the systems, for example, are very archaic, as the Secretary Duffy has mentioned, the NTSB has mentioned, FAA personnel. What do you think are still some of the structural issues that need to be worked out in terms of aviation, how we do air traffic control, and how we handle this ever-increasing flow of flights to make sure that we don't have another tragic incident like we saw at DCA last year?
Good question, Tony B. Is there room for improvement with air traffic control communication, radar facilities, using AI? Absolutely. That's the rest of our lives and the lives after us.
Right.
That's fact. But we don't need that to solve what happened tonight a year ago.
Right.
We need that to help the en route traffic control. That's not going to stop something from happening. And by the way, gentlemen, real quick, they mentioned the NTSB ADS-B. I don't want to get too technical with you. What that means is it allows each aircraft to see other aircraft around there. Look, I flew 41 years internationally across Europe, and the Pacific, etc. I want to know where Delta, American, the other airlines are. But when you're getting ready to land, it's seconds from happening. That equipment is useful. Don't misunderstand me. But a controller telling each aircraft to stay away from each other by flying high, flying low, or hovering in the helicopter is just getting back to basics.
Right.
Yeah. So we heard Tom Fitzgerald mention there at the end about how some lawmakers have been pushing for more flights at Reagan National, which is already one of the runways there is one of the busiest in the country, if not the busiest. The last time we talked to you, Richard, was when flight cuts were in effect because of the government shutdown. Do you think we have reached a tipping point at DCA where we may need to reduce capacity instead of expanding it?
A personal opinion is, and I've operated at the busiest ones around the world in U.S. and Europe and Asia, I don't think you need more traffic around there. One thing I think you need less of, and it's already been decided on by Secretary Duffy, is reducing the helicopter traffic. Now, you both know you have Marine One, the presidential, you have the medevac, emergency helicopters going to hospitals, etc. And then you have senators, Congress people flying by emergency or by VIP service. That's fine. Shut down Reagan Airport. Shut down the landings and takeoffs. That's what they do at Andrews when Air Force One takes off and lands. Shut down the traffic at National, and you solve the problem right there. Delay the takeoff 10 minutes. Who cares?
When looking at the future in terms of reforms, not just from the public sector, but from the private sector, how do you see airlines reacting a year right now, making any changes? Do we see airports making certain safety changes as well if there isn't enough federal intervention or regulation or legislation to really start to put these things in order?
The question is, do I think that airlines have changed their operating procedures?
Will they? Or have they or will they?
Oh, I do not. And let me quickly answer and tell you why I say that. I'm retired 41 years at a major airline. I'm now an instructor at another airline.
Right.
Procedures and policies of airlines, you both know safety, safety, and safety. There's no changes there at all whatsoever. Safety is still paramount number one. We want to get the people there on time. We want to be low cost, but safety is number one.
Right.
So there's nothing that came out of this accident, this mid-air collision, that's going to change procedures at airlines that are already operating correctly and procedurally on time.
All right, Richard Levy, aviation expert, thank you so much for lending some of your expertise to us here on the Live Zone Primetime tonight.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tony.
Great to see you, Richard, as always.
Great to see you, as
Bye-bye,
always.
guys.
And just a reminder, Fox 5 we produced a special 1 year later tribute to some of the victims that involve some of the families involved in that deadly DCA collision. You can check that out on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page or Fox Local streaming now. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to check out what else Tony P's been keeping an eye on this Thursday evening.
Yes.
We're also going to switch gears and take a look at some of the highlights from the Washington Auto Show right now in the nation's capital. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a copy tomorrow or the next day? Thank you. Good night to you. Y'all be good. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Thursday night. A busy Thursday night. Tony P's
Yes.
been keeping an eye on some of the other stories out there that are not the cold weather. Tony P, take it away.
Exactly. A lot of things dealing with politics, of course, starting here in D.C. Senate leaders in the White House have reached a temporary deal to avoid a partial government shutdown, breaking apart a stalled spending package to keep federal agencies funded. Lawmakers will advance 5 of the remaining spending bills covering most agencies, while the funding handling Department of Homeland Security will be taken separately. DHS will be funded at current levels under a short-term 2-week extension as negotiations continue over border and immigration issues. President Trump has endorsed the plan, though no final votes have been required just yet or voted on. In Minnesota, federal prosecutors have formally charged 55-year-old Anthony James Kazmariak in the attack on Representative Ilhan Omar during a Minneapolis town hall this week. Court filings say Kazmariak sprayed a liquid from a syringe towards Omar while shouting political statements favoring harsh immigration enforcement. Authorities say the substance was not toxic, but prosecutors argue the act was intended to intimidate a member of Congress. Kazmariak now faces multiple federal charges, including assaulting and interfering with a federal official. In Virginia, the Hanover County Board of Supervisors has voted to oppose plans for a new ICE processing facility near Ashland, Virginia. County officials and residents raised concerns about traffic, public safety, and the lack of local input in a PAC board meeting this week. ICE has confirmed interest in the property, but says no final land purchase or consideration has been completed. This was also really in the news after, of course, the tragic incidents in Minneapolis over the past couple of weeks involving Renee Good and Alex Preddy. In the world of Latin America, Venezuela's legislature passed a new law that opens the country's oil industry to foreign companies, ending decades of near-total state control. The reforms lower taxes and royalty rates, allow private firms to hold larger stakes, and aim to attract outside investment to revive production. Analysts caution political risks and sanctions could remain, but the move could significantly boost output if global companies return. This also is in response to the extraction by the Trump administration of President Maduro this month. In business and tech, SpaceX is in talks to merge with Elon Musk's AI company XAI ahead of a planned SpaceX public offering later this year. People familiar with the discussion say a merger could integrate advanced artificial intelligence with SpaceX's satellite networks and data infrastructure, though no final terms have yet to be set. In the world of the economy and economics, economic data shows the U.S. trade deficit surged about 94% in November, rising sharply from the previous month and coming in higher than a year ago. Imports climbed faster than exports, driven by strong demand for consumer goods, industrial supplies, and technology, prompting some economists to warn about the widening gap and its effect on GDP growth, even with the efforts from tariffs from the Trump administration. In the world of entertainment, filmmaker Darren Aronofsky has debuted an AI-driven series titled On This Day 1776, using generative technology to recreate moments from the American Revolution. The short episodes blend narration with AI-generated visuals of key figures and battles, sparking conversation and controversy about the role of artificial intelligence in storytelling. Also in the world of celebrities, former NFL star Rob Gronkowski offered a rare look into the post-retirement life of longtime friend and teammate Tom Brady, saying on the Today Show today that single Tom Brady, unquote, has become a lot more socially active, often going out on the weekends. A total role reversal from Brady was married and playing for the Patriots as well as the Buccaneers. Gronkowski said he now stays in with his longtime girlfriend, while Brady, recently divorced, has been seen out and about more often. Despite the social life chatter, Brady says he remains focused on his work and his children, Jack, Benjamin, and Vivian, even as dating rumors as well swirl. And finally, a feel-good story out of New York. A woman who had been homeless and sleeping beside her late husband's grave was given a fresh start after a police officer and a local nonprofit stepped in. The community rallied to provide her with a tiny home, offering the stability and support she needed as she rebuilds her life and honors her husband. I think that's when you talk about community, man, being the helper, Mr. Rogers always tells us that, or told us that. This is how you help people out. You do it in your own life, and then that, pays forward. Just a beautiful story.
No question at all. I don't want to go back to the Tom Brady
I knew you.
story
He was also
for a
he also was
second.
on Tonight Show last night.
Okay. That's exactly where
that
I
was
going
so
with this.
cool.
Not sure if you saw this, but he was technically on the Tonight Show. He was not a guest on the Tonight Show. Kendall Jenner was a guest on the Tonight Show, and she went into her phone and called him Tom Brady
and got on the line pretty fast
to ask who he thought would win the Super Bowl. Why does Kendall Jenner have Tom Brady's phone number?
First of all,
that
I don't
he's
think it's a dating
responding
thing.
to a FaceTime. Was this? Do you think this was pre-staged?
So yes, they're doing a huge campaign we talked about the other night for Fanatics, where they're doing a betting campaign of the Super Bowl
Yeah,
based
I
off
know.
Kendall Jenner's dating history. Tom Brady is very close with Michael Rubin, who of course the founder
Yeah.
of Fanatics, is also started a venture with OBB Media, who is a really solid new age social media, digital media ad company that has done a great job with many campaigns. And I think this was all coordinated because they were all sharing it. My friend Michael Ratner, who's a founder of OBB, is tied
Okay.
with Fanatics too. He was resharing it. His company was, Fanatics was. So I'm thinking this might have been a coordinated ad campaign
Okay.
because the Tonight
I
Show
wouldn't
collaborated
be
with Fanatics too.
shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. Let's be honest. Nothing shocks
Well,
me when it comes to that.
it's good
But
marketing, by the way.
this brings me now to what I really wanted to ask,
Oh,
which
God.
is
Oh, God.
the most famous person in your phone right now.
Me?
Who is it?
Oh, God, it's a great. I'm not going to say who. I don't know. I'll say
I told
who.
you I was going to put you on the spot.
Oh God, it's a good question. I don't have a ton of people who are total. Well, Heather McMahon, the comedian, who's wonderful.
Yeah,
I have her on my
She's
phone.
been on the show many times.
She
on
has?
Good Day DC. Yeah,
We gotta get her on.
She used to do Celebrity Dish with us.
No way.
Back in the
So,
day, yeah.
so she's fantastic. I have her on my phone. Also, I've DM'd and texted with Amy Schumer, who's wonderful too. Very big supporter of my page.
absolutely.
Who else have I texted with me? Eric Swalwell is in my phone too, the California
So
governor candidate.
skewing on the more political side for
I
some of them.
I have mostly comedians too, so
Mostly
it's not too bad.
comedians, yeah,
I don't have a ton of people in my phone. I DM a lot of people
Okay.
on social media. I don't like to
Sliding
ask for
in
numbers
the
because I get it,
DMs.
and they respond. So I think that's the big tell-all of that one. Jack Antonoff and I DM each other.
Oh, well, there you go. Just
Yeah.
name dropping a.
No, I have his. I do have his number. I have
producer.
his number too. I have his number and his. I think I have his parents too. Who I
Jack
met.
Antonoff, if you don't know, lead
Yes.
singer of Bleachers, formerly in Fun Dot, as I like to call them,
Yep,
and
a
a major
great
producer
artist.
for Taylor Swift.
And Sabrina Carpenter.
And Sabrina Carpenter. All right, we
You got
gotta
anybody in
move
yours?
on now. No, of course not.
Hey,
I'm nobody.
I'm
Tony
not
T.
selling you. Don't sell yourself
I'm
short, my
nobody.
friend.
All right.
Come
We got to
on.
move on now, though. Let's talk about
I'm
one
excited
of the
for this.
biggest auto shows in the country.
Yes.
Has parked itself right here in the nation's capital. We are talking about the 2026 Washington Auto Show, which is happening now through February 1st at the Convention Center in Northwest DC. You'll be able to see the newest cars on the market and witness the future of transportation through the DCE Drives experience, Tony P.
This is one of the first shows I went to when I moved to DC. It's right near my house at the Convention Center. I absolutely love this, and we have
When
somebody.
I think Tony P, I think cars,
Yes.
baby.
Well, Suburbans especially love those SUVs. We'll talk about this and all my love of cars coming up. We have a man who knows all about this stuff. He's the man who puts it on. John O'Donnell, the CEO and president of the Washington Auto Show. This man loves everything about autos and new dealerships and cars and trucks and SUVs and all those things. John O'Donnell, thank you for joining us tonight, my friend, here on the Live Zone Primetime. I'm dying to pick your brain on stuff, so I apologize in advance.
Well, let's go. But thank you very much for having me on the show, Tony and Chris.
My pleasure. Now, let me ask you this. So, in terms of the history of the Washington Auto Show, how long has this been going on? What has been the impact in the community? And what are some of the really cool exhibits that you have seen over the years that has really gotten the DC community talking?
So our show's going back to the 1930s. We took a hiatus for World War II, of course.
Right.
But we've been in operation ever since. And we showcase all of the latest technology, whether it's safety. Today it could be autonomous vehicles. It could be a different chassis like hydrogen, or maybe it's a hybrid, battery electric hybrid, or a pure hybrid. But the idea is to show everything on the market to the general public and do it in a way that's not high pressure. It's more of an education. Come talk to a product specialist and get all of your answers without any pressure from a salesperson. And I heard you talking earlier about the frigid weather. You know where it's warm inside?
The
Come
convention
find
center.
your next car where it's warm inside, down at the convention center.
I love that. Now, in
Right.
terms of some of the exhibits that people can expect, because it's the last weekend coming up for the show, what are some of the exhibits that individuals and families can look forward to as they learn on this journey of automobiles and just overall learning how to purchase a car?
Sure. It's a wide array of vehicles ranging from the mid-20s to over $1 million.
Wow.
So you have everything from mass market cars to exotic cars and everything in between. Land Rover is back this year.
Yes, I heard. I saw that.
Yeah. They look great. But there's also a lot of startup companies. Tesla, Lucid, which is an all-electric vehicle.
Right.
Polestar, another all-electric vehicle. Ineos, which is a really unique startup from Australia meant to compete with Land Rover. But it's also pretty interactive because we have ride and drives going. You can come down and actually test drive at the convention center outdoors. Brands like Toyota, Chevrolet, Tesla, and Kia. And then there's tons of stuff for the children to do. We've gone out of our way to make it very interactive and family friendly. So there's things like crazy bounces, or driving a little Ram truck, over in the Stellantis area. They call that the action zone. Sorry
about that, John.
Right?
I know Michael was in the Zoom room as well. We'll check in with him in just a second. John,
He probably needs to buy a car.
Michael needs to buy a car. So,
Nice.
John, let me ask you a quick question. For the last few years, obviously, there was a big push to go green with a lot of e-vehicles. That isn't quite the future, the same future these days. What kind of innovations and what does the future look like for the automobile industry right now?
Interesting that you bring that up. The Biden administration was all electric vehicles. The new administration, the Trump administration, is all about consumer choice. Let the consumer pick what kind of engine they'd like. Is it combustion engine? Is it a pure electric vehicle? Is it a battery electric plug-in? And that's really enabling the manufacturers to control costs. They have a lot of lost R&D costs with pure EVs, but that's already there for the future if the consumer wants that kind of vehicle. And next is going to be hydrogen.
Interesting. I remember seeing the Toyota vehicle like that. Now, when anybody comes to a car show or an auto show like this, and they're looking for a new car, maybe they're younger or they're just starting out on this journey, how can an individual or a family get the most out of an auto show to really inform their purchase? And the second question is, what are some advice you would give to anybody who's buying a new car? What are some of the things that they should consider?
Well, affordability. You have to think about affordability these days. But if you come down to the show, there are product specialists from every manufacturer, and their sole purpose is to help facilitate your level of interest. Do you simply want questions answered, or are you looking more seriously? Maybe you're looking to purchase within 30 days or 60 days, and they can set you up with a local dealer. So in terms of financing, every dealership in the area will have an F&I manager that'll walk you through the appropriate package for what your budget is.
Wow.
Maybe you want to pay off the car in 3 years, maybe 5 years. The average car these days is 13 years old, so they're building them much better, so the banks will give you a longer loan. So there's a lot of different things happening in the car business, and the best way to come check it out, and this is self-serving, but it's true. Come down to the auto show. You can test drive them, you can kick the tires, and you can get your questions answered.
So, John, besides the Land Rover, what is like one car out there, not necessarily a dream car, but one car you're most excited about right now?
Well, it's a little selfish because we're the first place in the United States that you can come see the Lamborghini Temeraria.
Okay.
Very, very.
I might need a Tony P budget for a car like that.
I don't have a budget for half of that car. Now, quickly before we go, I want to ask you this. So, we talk about the advent of social media as well as this whole new economy where people are buying cars online and they're buying through a Carvana, for example. In your mind, how do you see the trends affecting independent auto dealers and that relationship between the purchaser and the people that are facilitating all these processes to help people buy a car?
I think what you might be touching on is direct-to-consumer model.
Right. Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
what
Sorry.
you're-
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So the DC Auto Show is for the consumer. It's not necessarily for a dealer or a manufacturer. It's about the consumer.
Right.
So we have direct-to-consumer manufacturers at the show.
Oh, wow.
Lucid, for example, is one of them. Yeah. Tesla is another. So again, the idea is to showcase what is available for purchase right now, either in a showroom or online. And by the way, the dealers all have an online presence. So anything that these direct-to-consumer models can do online, a dealer locally can do the same. But the advantage is they have service here locally, right?
Exactly.
If something should go wrong in the future.
Right.
All right, John, one final question for you, and that is where people can go for more information or if they want to head down and check out the auto show for themselves.
Thank you very much for reminding me. WashingtonAutoShow.com. And if you're coming by Metro, it's the Mount Vernon Square station, 7th Street station on the green and yellow line. Thanks very much for having me.
John, thank you for joining us tonight on Live Zone Primetime, giving us a lot of insight on the world of automobiles and how you can engage with it in a really cool way at this event that is a hallmark in the DC community. Thank you for joining us, Johnny, on the Live Zone Primetime, and good luck this weekend. Hopefully I'll see you around there. If I'm going Saturday or Sunday, maybe both, who knows, but I'll see you down there, hopefully.
Get Tony in
Give
a
me a call. I'd
Lamborghini.
love to take you around.
I would be honored to. That Land Rover I want.
All right, John, thank you so much. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to leave you with a live picture from our Fox 5 Skycam in Frederick, Maryland. When we come back, though, we are laying down the law.
Oh.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime. It is 9:41 on this Thursday night, and like I said as we went to break, Tony P, it is time to lay down the law, because joining us now live are the hosts of Legally Speaking. Please welcome Jay Carter and the one and only Marissa George back on this Thursday night. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. For anyone who wasn't watching last week, talk to us a little bit about what Legally Speaking is and what we're doing here tonight.
So Legally Speaking is a joint segment that Marissa and I came up together with. She recently graduated from law school. I've been practicing for about 10 years. And so celebrities and high-profile individuals just cannot stay out of trouble. I'm sure you've noticed that the news for the last, I don't know, year and a half, really probably the last 2 years, it's just like every week someone is being sued for something. And so we said, you know what? Why don't we break it down for the masses? And we'll do it legally speaking. We'll break it down so that everyone can understand. And so we not just celebrity and entertainment, but anything high profile, if it's like arrest or anything tied to the law. And you can catch us outside of this on YouTube now, Legally Speaking Show. That's the handle on YouTube.
Okay. And
Perfect.
so tonight what's going to happen is we're going to present some cases. You guys are going to take each side of it, argue in favor of it, and then maybe Tony P tonight will be our jury.
Oh, that'd be jury. I always wanted to be in a jury.
So last week,
in
case you missed it, last week we talked about some stars, both of sports and reality nature, that had some local ties. Tonight, though, we're talking about some Hollywood heavy hitters. And we're going to start off with Tyler Perry. Hello.
You go ahead and take it.
Yeah, so just quickly the facts of Tyler Perry. I know you may be a little confused. He was sued not too long ago by Derek Dixon, but this lawsuit is by Mario Rodriguez. They're pretty much suing for similar things: sexual battery, emotional distress, unwanted sexual advancements. I think Derek Dixon had more of a workplace environment harassment claim. But Mario Rodriguez is suing for $77 million. And this is a follow-up to the $270 million that Derek is suing Tyler for. Of course, they're bringing in Lionsgate, because you also want to bring in the big bucks outside of Tyler in terms of collecting your damages if you win. And so I guess it's time for me to make the case. Okay, so I am going to make the case. In this case, this is civil, this is not criminal. So the plaintiff is going to say that, well, first of all, they have the same attorney. Derek Dixon and Mario have the same attorney. And the attorney is going to say all of the incidents are the same. When you go to Tyler Perry's home and you're sitting back and you're relaxing, you're watching movies and just relaxing, this is where the advances start. So both fact patterns say that the incidences, for the most part, happened in his home, where they were just hanging out with Tyler Perry. And so Tyler Perry is in more of the supervisory role. They're, they're underneath them in terms of employer-employee, that dichotomy. And so anytime you have that, that's that power struggle, and that's where like the workplace harassment and things come in. But these things actually happen in the home. So the plaintiff's lawyer is going to say, listen, we don't have one incident. We have two incidents of two people that have, no reason to lie, to say that they have the same story of those same advancements and battery. He said that he pulled down his pants and did all some other things. So it's very similar to Derek's story, and so the plaintiff is going to lead with there is a pattern of behavior here.
And then the defense will likely argue that this is a money grab. $77 million for the second lawsuit, $260 million for the first lawsuit. It's a money grab. Tyler Perry is a very successful man in Hollywood. He's $1 billion. Why not go after him when you are desperate and don't have any money? So recently, TMZ did reveal some text messages between Tyler Perry and Mario Rodriguez, and those text messages reveal that they've been talking as late as August of 2024, even though the claim does say Tyler Perry and Mario Rodriguez have not been speaking since 2019 after one of the alleged incidences. But that is a contradiction, because we have now proof that they were talking, that Mario Rodriguez told Tyler Perry that he loves him and he's so grateful and appreciative for him. I see this as a money grab. Mario Rodriguez is down bad right now financially and health-wise. He's looking for money.
All right,
so what do you guys think?
Good. Any questions for the counselor?
So in terms of these text messages, so like it just shows that they've had back and forth.
But it also
Yes.
shows that he's not afraid of Tyler Perry. He's still
Right.
asking
Okay,
money
right,
for
right.
like medical
Yes.
expenses
So
and
there's
things
still
like that.
there's still a warm, not
Yeah.
a warm exchange.
Oh, it's
Okay.
very, very warm.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just want to know that the tonality of it, just so to give the context.
He's explaining his financial issues. He's explaining his health woes, and Tyler Perry is being very, like, kind about
yeah,
that.
and like being
This
comforting.
is recent. This
Yes.
is about 6
mean,
or 7 months ago.
Preponderance
so-
of the evidence is in civil court. Am I correct?
Yes.
So that's only 50% plus 1. I would say I'm going to side with Tyler Perry on this one. I'm going to acquit him.
Okay.
If I were on the jury, because I think those text messages do show an interesting pattern.
Yes, especially because he claims they haven't been talking since 2019, and then these texts show
Right.
that he's reached out to Tyler Perry.
Exactly. So is there, is this a pattern as well?
Exactly.
Okay, so let me ask a quick question that it won't necessarily affect the outcome of the case,
Yeah.
but if they've established this relationship existed, then all of a sudden it becomes a cash grab type of a thing. Does Tyler Perry release any text messages to prove that there was a relationship ahead of time, or is that necessarily not the image that he wants to portray, even if it proves his innocence?
I think even if he releases text messages showing that they had some type of relationship, he still was an employer to these
Right.
two people who are claiming these claims.
So he wants to be careful. He
has
wants to
to be
make sure
careful
those
about
text
that.
messages don't seem like sexual
Coercive.
harassment or coercive of
Yeah.
any way. So he's probably going to be really careful about if this makes it to trial.
Yes.
He'll probably be really careful about which texts. But he definitely released those texts on purpose to show like, hey, you just asked me for money for 6
Yes.
months ago.
You're
Right,
saying
and
you
now
love
you're-
me,
yeah,
and
the
you
whole-
appreciate
Yeah,
me.
how much emotional distress are
Right,
you
the
in?
timeline is what,
Yes.
is what
yes.
they're
Yes.
relying on
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Is there other potential evidence that could come out on the fact of both plaintiffs? I mean,
Mario and Derek.
Mario, yes, both plaintiffs that could sway the case in their direction, or is this kind of the end all of the case?
Well, there could be some additional text, like we said, that
Yes.
Tyler doesn't
Bring the
want us
text.
to see to show that, let's just say, he just, did a Hail Mary and say, let me just ask for some money at the last minute. If there are any other texts to show that it was inappropriate employer-employee situation, that, like, even quid pro quo, that's under the sexual harassment. If you felt like you had to go to his house and watch movies and drink
Got
up with
it.
them, then they could probably,
Right.
maybe not win under all of their claims, but they'll probably be able to win under that
Right,
one.
because it launches that interaction, that
Yes.
employer-employee relationship.
Exactly.
Good to know.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
You can weigh in too. Just a reminder,
Yes.
scan that
Yeah,
QR
tell us.
code.
You two comments. Give
That's
us
right.
your
We
legal
need
insights.
we need a jury of our peers here.
Yes.
All right. Let's go from one
only one
Hollywood
peer.
heavy hitter to another, Tyler Perry to Will Smith.
Yes. Okay. So Will Smith has been. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Will Smith is being sued by his tour violinist, Brian King Joseph, for wrongful termination, sexual harassment, and retaliation. And not only is Will Smith being sued, but also his, what is it called? The Trey Ball Studios management. So his company is also being sued as well. So the facts are they were on tour and they were all staying in a hotel that was booked by by Will Smith's company. And when the violinist went into his room one day, he discovered that someone had entered his room unlawfully, unauthorized, and left a note behind that implied some future sexual violence, as well as leaving things like baby oil, wipes, HIV medications, just random objects in this this hotel that put the violinist in fear. And so he made a report to the police officer, he made a report to the hotel, as well as the management team, and he was shortly fired afterwards. So I'm going to make the case. Now this is, the violinist engaged in a protected activity, which was making the complaint. So once you make a complaint against your employer, there's steps that have to be taken. The management company should have conducted an investigation and looked into whether whether this was real, allegedly real or not, and they didn't. Instead, he made the complaint, they fired him, they actually shamed him, told him he was a liar, and fired him because of this.
Wow.
So this is the wrongful termination claim at the minimum is, I think, pretty strong. It also retaliation as well for making the complaint, pretty strong. It's a low bar to prove. And then the harassment claim comes from Will Smith allegedly grooming and priming Rodriguez, or excuse me, wrong person. I'm getting my cases messed up. Grooming and priming the violinist, Mr. Joseph, by having a close relationship with him, telling him things like, I never felt this close with other people like that. So he feels like he was grooming and priming him for further sexual exploitation. Yeah.
So I'm going to make the case for Will Smith. So Will Smith is going to say, listen, I mentor all the young employees, like the talent that come on these tours with me. Any, text messages or any communications that you'll be able to probably even show will not show anything inappropriate, and anything alleged that was said orally between the two, it's he said, she said. We can't really prove that he said anything that would fall under grooming. So I do think the sexual harassment part may be kind of weak in this case. And then in terms of defending the wrongful termination, Will Smith and his company, because they're all being sued, could say, listen, he was fired for different reasons. He was fired, they can pull up a file and say, well, these are the reasons why we had him let him go. It had nothing to do with him complaining about something allegedly happening in a hotel. So they're really going to have to really stand on the evidence, if again it exists, to show that he was not fired for that reason.
So before our jury weighs in, I do just want to establish that you guys aren't affiliated with any of these cases. This is just purely from a speculative, and obviously all allegedly as well. My question before we turn it over to the jury is, when it comes to this workplace harassment case, the first thing that came to mind was the lawsuit against Lizzo, who also
very
had
similar.
Okay, so it is
very similar.
Okay,
yes,
that was
they
my
felt
question.
like by them she was taking them to the strip clubs. It made them feel uncomfortable. It was and she may have been thinking like, hey, I'm just having a good time with my employees, but you have to really be careful with that line, because it can definitely turn into that. Also, none of this is legal advice. In addition to this, we are lawyers, but we're not your lawyer. So just want to add that disclaimer.
Is there any particular protocol that a company like Will Smith's has to follow when a complaint is lodged like that, whether it be in the hotel, there's a documented case? Is there any evidence that they did breach a protocol when not following up on the situation and those allegations?
So that has not been revealed yet. We do not know whether Will Smith's company actually did an investigation following the accusations. I know that the report was made to the police and to the hotel staff, who did follow through, but as far as the management team, it seems like maybe they asked some questions around, because when he was terminated, he allegedly was told by the person who terminated him that, we've heard from other people around here that you've been lying and that this is not true. You made all this up. So they do have that duty to then they need to investigate after the protected activity, and then they can take the next steps.
Okay.
All right. Number one.
I'm going to have a mixed verdict here.
Okay, so we can do each claim. So
great. On the first claim, with the process and the protected activity and the wrongful termination. Thank you. I'm going to find Will Smith and his company guilty on that one.
Okay.
That's pretty clear.
I think it's a pretty strong case.
Okay.
I think it's the sexual harassment or creating that work environment. There just isn't enough evidence to get to that preponderance of the evidence yet. I'm going to say not guilty on that, or a mistrial, or like a hung jury, something of that nature.
Okay. I think that's fair. I think me and Marissa can live with that.
Yeah, we can live with that.
So let me ask you
Trying to be precise here,
Let me ask you guys a quick question. So what is the current status of each of these cases, the Tyler Perry one and the Will Smith one? Are these still just accusations that haven't made their way through the legal system yet? Where did these cases
formal
stand?
complaints.
Formal complaints.
complaints.
They've gone through the courts. I know that the Derek Dixon lawsuit has been moved from LA to Georgia. I believe the Mara Rodriguez lawsuit against Tyler Perry remains in LA. Most likely might be moved to Georgia. And then as far as the Will Smith, I believe that is also in LA and is in the court system as well.
And so both Will Smith and Tyler Perry have to officially respond now. So you have the complaint, and then you have the response.
Will the move from LA to Georgia potentially impact any type of illegal discovery or evidence thresholds in the Tyler Perry case?
It could change, it's a different law in Georgia versus the law in California, so it could change some things along those aspects, but that's yet to be seen.
And California tends to be very obviously pro celebrity, like they give you the benefit of the doubt. So
Interesting.
for it to go to Atlanta, I mean, I feel like Atlanta is kind of the new Hollywood, but traditionally, a lot of times, if you're on the defense, you want to be in California.
Got it.
They tend to be pro.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for Legally Speaking with Jay Carter and Marissa George for this Thursday night. If people want more, tell them where they can go one more time.
So youtube.com/@LegallySpeakingShow.
All right.
You can find us on our Instagrams as well.
Yes.
We have the
Just
link
a
in our
reminder,
bio.
they'll be back next Thursday night with all new cases, and you guys can be our jury. All you got to do is scan that QR code.
I found I was on a jury. I always wanted to be on one. I like jury duty.
Thank you guys
Send me a
so
summons.
much for joining us live.
Thank you.
Tony P, we are down to the final few minutes of the show, and we're going to stay on this Hollywood theme, okay?
Yes.
Because we talked about this
Please.
earlier. The National Film Registry released its latest list of movies that they have deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically relevant. And I want to talk about a few of these because some of these, they hold a special place in my heart. Okay, one of them
What do we got?
is this one right here, Tony P, and I'm dying to know if you've ever seen it. Oh no, what did I do? I hit the wrong button. There it is. That one.
Oh, the
right
Karate
there.
Kid.
The
Wax on,
Karate
wax
Kid.
on. Of course I have.
Wax on, wax off. All right,
Crane,
next
you know?
up, have you seen this
I don't
one?
know why John's going out with a high school boy. I like dogs.
Clueless, Alicia Silverstone, Paul Rudd.
Oh my God.
and more. Tony P, have you seen it?
No, I haven't. That was a toughie.
That was a tough one.
I thought it was Legally Blonde.
All right. This one, coincidentally, we literally just spoke about last night. Can you name this one, Tony P? Philadelphia. Denzel Washington.
Very important social
Tom
movie.
Hanks. A classic featuring a soundtrack from Bruce Springsteen as well.
Yep,
Next
Tom Hanks'
up,
first Oscar came out of that.
First Oscar came from that
Back
one.
to back.
Next up, all right, here we go. Tony P. Do you know this one?
It's like Born Identity or something.
Oh, no,
No?
Tony P. No,
What
no,
is this?
no. This is Inception. Christopher Nolan.
Right,
Leonardo
Leo,
DiCaprio.
Leo.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, and more.
That is
so
an
those are
all-star
some
cast.
of the big ones. That is
Why
not
did they Jason
all, though.
Bourne? Gordon didn't even play Jason Bourne.
Also making the list, Tony P. The Grand Budapest Hotel. Have you seen that one?
Yes, I have. That was,
Okay.
what was that? Was 2012, 2013?
2014.
Close enough. Okay, I got it.
Okay, all right.
that
So
Ray
he
Fiennes?
knows that one. Ray Fiennes is in that
And
one.
Judi Dench.
Also, Jeff Goldblum.
Right,
Also
he
making the
is.
list. The Truman Show with Jim Carrey.
That is one of my favorite movies of all time. A lot of my followers give me crap for being like the human Truman Show on social media. So it's like, I like the movie. Ed Harris did a wonderful job. Jim Carrey should have won an Oscar for it. Should have at least been nominated, I think. I think he got the Golden Globe.
Okay.
That was a very important
Here's
movie.
one that
the
also
concept
made
was
the
brilliant.
list. We mentioned Denzel Washington in Philadelphia. Won an Oscar for Glory, 1989.
Yes.
The story of Robert Gould Shaw
Great
and
movie.
the Massachusetts, what was it, the 54th Regiment
Yep.
from Massachusetts?
During the Civil War, right?
In case you didn't know, the Shaw neighborhood in Washington, D.C. is named after Robert Gould Shaw.
Oh,
and that
right.
is who Matthew Broderick plays in this. He was a white Civil War soldier who took over who volunteered to lead this regiment of African American Civil War soldiers for the North.
Right.
The story is incredible. The movie is incredible. It was an Oscar winner. Denzel Washington, Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Also, Morgan Freeman.
Oh,
Andre
yeah.
Braugher, I believe it was one of his first movies. We're out of time.
Wow. That's a
You can
classic.
check out the
89
whole
that
list
came out, I think.
online. Tony P., thank you for joining us for another classic
pleasure, my
edition
friend.
of the Live Zone Primetime.
What a full
Fox
show
5
tonight.
News at 10 coming up next. All the latest on the weather and that 1-year anniversary of that crash at DCA.
Yes. We pray for the families, of course.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you Friday night. Have a good one.